Hands down, the absolute best horror performance of the year goes to Mia Goth as Pearl. Though there is no way she will be considered, Goth honestly deserves an Oscar for what she accomplished in this film. I thought X blew me away, but I had no idea how emotionally harrowing Goth and writer-director Ty West would take us. Pearl is a true achievement in horror and really was a contender for being number one on this list. This is M.L. Miller Fright's Best in Horror Countdown 2021 through 2022. Counting down the best in horror films released from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. According to me, M.L. Miller. Here we go. Number 3. Pearl was released on August 16th, 2022. It's available on demand from A24. It's directed by Ty West and written by Ty West and Mia Goth. It's 1918, and a wide-eyed country girl named Pearl, played by Mia Goth, lives with her domineering German mother, Ruth, played by Tandy Wright, and invalid father, played by Matthew Sunderland. But when she isn't taking care of the farm and cleaning up after her father, Pearl dreams of becoming famous. When a church group rolls into town looking for a talented new actress to join their entertainment troupe, Pearl thinks this is her big chance to leave the farm behind her and achieve her dreams. Though there are a few obstacles in her way, Pearl has a way of dealing with them. A deadly way. Pearl is absolutely magnificent. I always knew director Ty West had it in him to make great films, but compared to his previous films, Pearl is at a whole nother level of filmic achievement. West makes Pearl look like a completely different movie from the very beginning, with a swirling orchestral score, brightly lit Technicolor skies and cornfields, and a bright-eyed Pearl dancing around gleefully in the barn as she does her chores. While the credits feel ripped from films like Wizard of Oz, Oklahoma, or Gone with the Wind, aggrandizing those epic films from a much more naive age, the opening montage has a bit of cynicism laced in it. West shares a bit of irony with the audience because most of the people watching this film already know it's going to be very violent and bloody, but the feelings conveyed by Goth are so genuine all the way through, and even though some of those more wholesome moments might have a bit of an acidic feel to it, it still rings as authentic. West doesn't go for easy shocks or scares here. He takes his time, letting us get to know Pearl and her tragic life. Her husband Howard, played by Alistair Sewell, is overseas in the military, leaving her alone as an adult, but treated as a child by her overprotective mother and crippled father. While it might start out looking like an overly simplified fairy tale magic land, West sticks with this and shows that we are seeing the world through the eyes of Pearl. So maybe the first few minutes will be worth a chuckle for you, but the mood becomes much more melancholy as we see the trials Pearl must face and how her cheerful exterior is simply a cover for a very tragic and damaged soul. The true achievement in Pearl is that it highlights the extraordinary range of actress Mia Goth. Sure, she's great at looking sultry as Maxine, and under all of that old age makeup making her look terrifying as Pearl in X, but as a young Pearl, Goth shines so brightly here in every scene. Whether she's talking to her cows or spearing someone with a pitchfork, Goth's Pearl is a genuinely tragic character you can't help but fall in love with and root to achieve all of her dreams. This film never takes its eye off Goth, and she commands every moment. When she smiled, I smiled. When she cried, so did I. While horror is my favorite genre, I must admit it's not one that spawns many performances that will go down as cinematic milestones, but Goth delivers a performance that deserves to be seen by people outside of the horror genre. Toward the end of the film, she delivers more than just a monologue, but an extended, desperate confession from the very pit of her soul. And while I must admit the monologue is a tiny bit long, it feels like some of the most honest-to-God cinema I've seen in a long time, describing feelings we all have and deal with every day. Yes, Pearl is a cold-blooded, self-centered psychopath, but Goth makes you look past all of that and witness her humanity. The film also sports some fantastic smaller performances, specifically the nuanced role of Mitzi, played by Emma Jenkins Purro, who tries to support Pearl, but doesn't know what kind of monster she really is. This actress is someone I'm hoping to see a whole lot more of. And Tandy Wright is wonderful in the role that could have been a cliched, overprotective mother, but she allows a little sympathy to shine through that tough exterior from time to time to show that she does love Pearl in her own distanced and regimented way. David Corenswet is strong as the hunky projectionist who befriends Pearl and encourages her vie for stardom. And rounding out the cast is Matthew Sunderland, who has the arduous task of being force-fed and trapped in a body that cannot move or talk, but he does get to watch Goth in a bathtub, so you gotta take the good with the bad. The best part of Pearl is that there's more to come. Just as with X, Pearl ends with a teaser for the third film in this trilogy called Maxine, following Goth's character into the 80s after the events of X. Still, Maxine is going to have to be pretty amazing to top what West and Goth achieved with Pearl. Not only will it shock you and thrill you with all of its gore, carnage, and terror, but it will mesmerize you, steal your heart, and make you weep. You can't say that about many horror movies. West has achieved something special, and it deserves to be seen and enjoyed. You don't even have to have seen X to enjoy Pearl, as it can be enjoyed all on its own. Sure, there are small callbacks to X, but nothing so egregious that you would feel like you're missing something. I can't wait for Maxine, and I can't wait to see both Pearl and X again. With 2 films, West has become the filmmaker to watch in horror. See Pearl in the theaters. This year has been a phenomenal year for horror, and Ty West, Mia Goth, X, and now Pearl have been a huge part of it. AGNES features similar standout performances by its diverse and eclectic cast, along with a story that is as unconventional as it comes. Mickey Reece is a truly original filmmaker, and I can't wait to see what he has in store for us next after this and last year's Climate of the Hunter. AGNES was released on December 10th, 2021. It's streaming on Amazon Prime from Magnet Releasing. It's directed by Mickey Reece and written by Mickey Reece and John Selvidge. When a young nun named Agnes, played by Haley McFarland, appears to be possessed, the convent sends word to the Vatican to allow for an exorcism. They decide to send an unconventional priest, Father Donahue, played by Climate of the Hunters' Ben Hall, and his protege Benjamin, played by Jake Horowitz, to analyze the situation and perform an exorcism if necessary. The exorcism is in fact necessary and doesn't go as planned. I don't want to reveal much more about AGNES, as I feel most likely you're never going to see a possession film quite like it, and I wouldn't want to ruin the experience for you. It's an extremely unconventional and bizarre film. The tone is all over the place, and the imagery has the look and feel of many other types of films. Yet AGNES still maintains its own unique edge. While characterizing priests as normal, flawed, and somewhat kooky people isn't new, AGNES takes it to a whole new level. In The Exorcist 3, Father Dyer, played by Ed Flanders, is shown telling off-color jokes, speaking loosely, and acting quite unpriest-like. Still, he maintained the dignity of the job. In AGNES, Father Donahue takes things a step further and is downright inappropriate at times, all done to humanize him in ways you most likely haven't seen before. Sure, this causes quite a bit of a to-do with the nuns at the convent, but it also makes his character such a blast to follow. Seeing him bungle his way through the exorcism is a thing of beauty, highlighting actor Ben Hall's unique and genius comic timing. Hall had a standout performance as the enigmatic neighbor in Reece's film from last year, Climate of the Hunter, and gives an equally excellent performance in AGNES. But that's not the end of the quirkiness. For much of the first half of AGNES, it felt as if I were watching a possession film directed by Wes Anderson. Not only does the film utilize Anderson's obsessive tendency to intentionally center the image in frame dramatically, but also his use of slow-mo to accentuate the importance of the scene in an ironic and farcical manner. There's a scene set to heavy synth beats where Father Donahue, Benjamin, and a few nuns make their way down the hall in slow-mo on their way to the exorcism that is as fascinating as it is absurd. Earlier scenes where the nuns speak to the camera and strike cool poses on the church steps again highlight a sense of humor one doesn't often associate with the staunch way the religious are depicted on screen. In the first half, everything, even the possessed person herself, is presented in a tongue-in-cheek manner. There was a constant barrage of ludicrous and hilarious imagery that I wasn't expecting, and I laughed a lot at the way religion is presented through the eyes of filmmaker Mickey Reece, who definitely apes the style of other filmmakers here, but still manages to be a unique force behind the camera all his own. Agnes takes a huge tonal shift at the halfway point as we catch up with another nun at the convent, Mary, played by Molly C. Quinn, who herself was deeply affected by the exorcism that took place at the convent. This shift in tone and focus is jarring, and I believe that'll be the point where it may lose some of the audience because gone is the stylized camera work and quirky humor. It turns much more into a drama at this point, focusing on Mary's troubles as she attempts to leave the convent behind and find a new life. It's a bold storytelling move on Reece and his co-writer John Selvidge's part, leaving Mary, Father Donahue, and the convent behind to tell a new chapter in a different setting with a different central character. But it only adds another layer to the unruly and unpredictable nature, as if the rules centering on religion in the first half transform to a dismissal of what is to be expected in the story itself. This tonal switch was jarring and took a while for me to get used to, but ultimately, by the time the story ended, not with an exorcism, but with a theological conversation, I was pleasantly surprised at the restraint and creativity put into this film. But I guarantee the halfway point is where folks will throw their hands up in the air and give up on Agnes. I get it. We are used to a specific way to receive a story, and when someone gets creative with the way information and story are doled out, it's a hard pill to swallow. For me, Agnes is a wonderfully vibrant and fresh take on the possession genre. While the tone changes, there is a thematic throughway as the film shifts gears from Agnes to Mary, and those willing to look past the exterior will notice it, and I think appreciate it. The film is populated with some amazing performances. Agnes is filled with actors you might remember from other films, as well as faces you're bound to see more of. Molly C. Quinn is restrained and dignified, yet still dazzles in the role as Mary. Sean Gunn offers up a much more serious character here as a stand-up comedian that shows he's more than just James Gunn's bro with all goofs and sight gags. Jake Horowitz is great as the soon-to-be priest who is shocked at Father Donahue's actions, yet seems to be taking notes as to how he will handle the role in the future. And shrewd eyes will catch the Craft's Rachel True as one of the nuns. In fact, all of the nuns offer up some downright hilarious moments. Just be prepared to watch something you've never seen before. I often go on about the unshakable conventions of the exorcism possession film, as all of them can't seem to move past the cliches made iconic in The Exorcist. Agnes is the first possession exorcism film that shakes the subgenre of horror to its foundations and will leave you shocked at what you've seen. Drama supersedes the horror by the time the credits roll, but Agnes still left me with a smile that there are filmmakers out there, like Mickey Reece, willing to still take chances. While this film will most likely cause devout hearts to flutter, if you're in the mood for something wholly different, Agnes will definitely compel you. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or give me your own picks for your favorite horror movies. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror Countdown 2021 through 2022. Be sure to hit all of the pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.